Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Happy Tuesday. So as you know, I'm trying to do 100 things that I have not yet done before. And one of those things, go to a different country out of the United States where I currently live and have lived for all of my life. Yeah, so in April of this year, of recording this, the school that I go to, BYU, Idaho, has a British literary tour, and I decided to go on it because it seemed fun. And yeah, so I just want to talk about everything that happened because it is my first time out of the United States. And I took lots of pictures, and we're just going to go through them as I tell you about my experiences, the cool stories I heard. So the first place we went to was in Jane Austen country. We went to Jane Austen's house. There's a gift shop. I didn't buy anything at the gift shop, but there's these really cool books, and I wanted to buy them. But if I bought one of them, I'd have to buy all of them, and they were like all together like 125 pounds. And I spent all my money getting on this trip, so that wasn't going to happen. But they look really cool. They're really fun. This is the church that Jane Austen went to. It's pretty cool. Her mother and sister are buried there. This is the gravestones of Jane Austen's sister and mother, Cassandra Austen and Cassandra Elizabeth Austen. Here's a stained window inside. I took a lot of pictures of stained windows. There was a lot of them. This is inside the church. It's kind of small, kind of quaint. I like it. We went to Stonehenge. That was cool. I got a puzzle for like $12. It probably wasn't worth $12, but it was a cool puzzle, and I like puzzles. So yeah, this is Stonehenge. Like I thought we could like go up and like into Stonehenge and like poke around, but we couldn't because people at one point were like vandalizing it, so it's more protected now, which is a shame because it would have been really fun to like go into it. But we walked around it. There was sheep. I feel like there's sheep everywhere in England, but you could buy sheep droppings, which I thought was kind of funny. And they also had like structures of what they thought like the people who built Stonehenge would have lived in. So this is inside one. It's not very decorated, but this is outside of one. Okay, so this is Salisbury Cathedral. It has the tallest spire in the UK. It's pretty cool. The spire is pretty big. I took lots of pictures of it when we were coming out. It's kind of overcast. It didn't rain, like, I think it rained a total of 15 hours while I was in there for like, we were there for like 24 days. It didn't rain at all. It was crazy. Anyway, there's a bunch of statues on the building that I thought looked cool. There's a statue of George Herbert actually on one of these. I don't know where. I didn't take a picture of it. I didn't know about it until after when we went to George Herbert's church. We could have climbed to the top of the spire, except it was closed for some reason, but it would have been fun too. It was probably going to have like those twisted stairs. There's like spiral staircases everywhere in England. Yeah, you can't escape them. It's kind of insane. And they're so long. Like, he is so dizzy doing them. Anyway, it has nothing to do with Salisbury Cathedral. Okay, so this is the window glass stain, a prisoner of conscience. Okay, so it's a 5-lancet stained glass window that commemorates those who have been imprisoned for their beliefs. Jesus is the middle one. They're kind of hard to see. I feel like it's a very busy window. It looks really pretty though. And then the side ones, like the very side ones kind of shows just, you can see like the little faces. There's actually another story. I didn't take a picture of him because I didn't even think about it. But one of the guys buried here, his name is Longsby, the Dutch Longsby. And they called him that because he was really tall. But he was lost at sea at one point. Like the ship crashed. There was a big storm or something, and everybody thought the guy drowned. So this other guy was like, "Oh, I can get my nephew to marry Longsby's wife, and then he can inherit the duchdom or whatever. Like he can inherit all the lands and stuff. And so they're kind of planning on that. And but the wife was like, "Oh, let me mourn. Like I just need just like a couple years or whatever." But then Longsby came back. Like he didn't drown. He managed to make it out alive. And so the guy, the uncle, threw like this huge party, and Longsby died that night. And so everybody kind of like was like, "Oh, did the uncle kill Longsby?" And they weren't sure. But the Duchess was like, actually, because of the Magna Carta, which was created like just a couple years before this all happened. She's like, because of the Magna Carta, I don't actually have to marry if I don't want to, and I don't want to. So that was really cool. But one of the times when the cathedral flooded, they actually they were making restorations to the building, and they had to like open his Longsby's resting place coffin. I don't know. To clean it out, and he was like really well preserved. And they actually found like a dead rat that they tested for, and it had like arsenic poisoning. So it's actually very possible, like that's probably what happened. He probably was poisoned with arsenic and by the uncle and died. They actually built the spire well after they built everything else, and it like leans. I think they said to the south. It like leans in a certain direction, and it affects the pillars underneath them. So this is a picture of like the pillar and how it's like leaning because of the spire on top, like all four pillars. It's kind of wild. Actually, what is also wild is the cathedral. I mentioned it floods regularly. It's because the cathedral has like 4 feet of foundation, like the entire thing. 4 feet of foundation, and underneath it is like gravel and water. And if the water gets too low, the whole thing will just collapse. And if water gets too high, it like floods. And so they have to check it regularly to make sure the water's at a good level so it doesn't collapse. The Magna Carta is also there. The Magna Carta is just like basically the first Declaration of Independence. I think it's Charles II who was just being a real douchebag, and everybody was like, "How about you don't?" And so they made Magna Carta. And there's one here, and I didn't take a picture of it because there was a sign that asked us not to. But I did take a picture of this wall, which just shows First Genesis and Exodus, like it went all the way around the room, which is cool. So you get a picture of that instead of Magna Carta. So this is George Herbert's castle. George Herbert, he wrote a lot of poems about Jesus. He decided at age 15, I think it was 15, he wrote a poem, or like he mentioned somewhere that he wouldn't ever write a poem except that was like religious. So all his poems are religious. He became a priest in this church. It was built so like the farmers and people who had to travel really far had to. It was like less far them to go to church, so it's really small. It's very quaint. It's like down the street from Salisbury Cathedral. Well, it's like down 2 streets, but. So we went to see Tintern Abbey, which is a ruin of an abbey. So William Wordsworth actually made this famous. He was a walker, he liked to walk. And he was walking around here and he saw it and he was like, wow, I'm gonna write a poem about that. So he did. And now it's famous. So Tintern Abbey actually made, I think it was Henry VIII was going off to war, and he needed things and money, and so he went to like all the abbeys and was like, hey, y'all need to give me money or I'm gonna tear down your thing and take everything valuable. And abbeys don't have money. They're the people in Tintern Abbey like went and ran away and in the forest while Henry VIII's servants took, and they took everything. So they smashed out all the stained glass windows because it was lined with lead, which could be used to make like weapons, like just anything that could be just made into a weapon. If they melted it down, they just stripped the whole thing, took them out, which is really sad. So Tintern Abbey just never got rebuilt from that. So this is cool though. So every abbey has a like a statue of Mary, because every abbey is dedicated to Mary, the Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus. And obviously, the ruin doesn't really have one, so 2007, a sculptor named Philip Catfield just carved this statue so that there would be one here. Inspired by the original, which is still around here, even though it's in pieces, according to the plaque that I read that off of. Anyway, there was a bee outside of the. There's a beehive. This is a beehive. I didn't realize it was a beehive. I just saw a bee like fly into it, and I thought it'd be really cool to take a picture of it like coming out. And I was right. I took a picture of it coming out, and then like it came out, and so did like three others. And I was like, oh, this is a hive. Here's another bee, same place. This one's a really big bee though. Probably about the size of like an American quarter. So this is Raglan Castle. It had a moat. It's really interesting though. This particular moat, it's only like knee deep, from what I could tell by staring at it for like 10 minutes, trying to figure out how deep it was. But yeah, this here they thought was a library. You could see bookcases, or not a bookcase, but fake books. And it was right at the entrance, which is always a good place for a library. This is a view from the top of the stairs. And this is another view. This is the view straight down into the castle. Because we're in the keep right now. I forgot to mention that. This is the keep. The keep is like outside of the castle, which is not super normal for castles, but they made it work until they didn't. I'm not sure you noticed, but there is like a giant hole in their wall because somebody broke it down in a fight. This is from the top. I took a video of the stairs leading all the way down, just to show just how long the thing is. This is the first like spiral staircase we really saw. Seashells. Yes. So in Raglan Castle, kind of like along the outside of the moat, there's like these little enclaves. Yeah, like these. And there used to be like statues of like Roman emperors in these enclaves, and the walls, like where you see the brick right here, what used to be like inlaid with these seashells like this. It's really cool. You can still see the seashells like in the walls that were used for decoration. So, and then we went to the Cardiff Museum. This is a painting by Van Gogh. I don't remember what it's called. I'm gonna be honest. Most of the time when I see paintings, I'm like, yeah, they're cool. Like it's just a painting. I do like to look at them and like focus on the brushstrokes and where they are and see how they painted it. Like I really like exploring them. But like originals versus like just a picture of it, like I didn't really see the difference. So I never really noticed that until I saw Van Gogh's paintings, and then I got it. I was like, oh, this is why people like the original over like a copy picture. And I can't really show you why in the picture, but just like the textures he uses is really cool. So this is in Bath. It's like a good tourist town. A lot of people. Jane Austen wrote about Bath a lot. Like a lot of her characters would go to Bath. This is the Bath Abbey. Go inside Bath Abbey. We went to the Evensong in Bath Abbey. It was pretty cool. So this is also in Bath Abbey. This is right before we went in for the Evensong, but this is really cool because you see here, this is kind of like symbolisms of Jesus Christ. So you can see like his feet on the bottom and his hands on the top with holes in them because the nails. You have this like ring which represents like the crown of thorns, and then this hole in the heart, which we figured is representing like when he got stabbed on the side when they made sure he was really dead. So I thought that was just really cool symbolism. This is the Liverpool River. We went here because my church is a religious school, and there's a lot of church history that happened here in Liverpool. So back in the day when the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was just getting started, a lot of converts from England moved to America, and they set off from Liverpool, from this very port that I stood in. This is a statue, kind of commemorating the immigration. Yeah. So we went to the Air Force Waterfall. This is where William Wordsworth often went on walks. he went on a lot of walks and he went to a lot of places. And this is one of them. You can see the waterfall from here a little bit. There's a bridge. It's actually a really cool story about the bridge. A legend of this Emma, and she had a husband that she loved very much, but he was a soldier and would like go to war. But he would like had to leave for a long time, and Emma would get really sad, and she started to sleepwalk. And one day, like she sleepwalked all the way to the waterfall. It was the night that her husband got home, and her husband went and found her and like touched her shoulder to like wake her up, and she jolted awake, and she was so startled that she kind of like stumbled and fell off the waterfall and died. And the husband was heartbroken, and so he became a hermit living in a cave above the waterfall and built a bridge to make sure that it never happened to anybody else ever again. And this is the bridge. And we just ignore that part. This is the Lake District, which we were in for a bit. William Wordsworth lived here for a bit. Coleridge frequented this. Beatrice Potter actually really loved this place. She bought a lot of land and donated it to like conservationists. And she actually has a shop dedicated to her that sells her books. And okay, so we went and visited Dove Cottage, which is where William Wordsworth and his sister Dorothy Wordsworth lived for some time. William Wordsworth is a poet, by the way. He's famous for lots of things, but mostly for Daffodils, probably is his most well-known one. He's also my favorite poet. I love this man. I admire this man greatly. Here's a better picture of the Dove Cottage. We did like a little tour inside it. It's really small, and it's crazy. I think William Wordsworth had like three-ish kids, three or four. Like he was married and his sister was there, and then he had three or four kids, all in this little teeny tiny house. Which is cool. There was like a little garden place out back. Wordsworth's gardens are my favorite gardens. They're so pretty. If I ever had a garden, I would want it to be like Wordsworth. Okay, so this is another bee we saw on the way when we were walking up to Hayden's Wall. It was pretty big. It was about the size of my thumb. Yeah, this is me on Hayden's Wall. Turns out we weren't supposed to get on it, but I was specifically told we could. So here's another bee at Hayden's Wall. This one was a little teeny tiny one. Hayden's Wall is a wall that Hayden made. Basically, the Roman Empire was a thing, and the Scots didn't really like it. And so the Scots would like attack the soldiers on the border during the nighttime. And Hayden was like, this is not good. And so he built the wall to help prevent that. And it worked a little bit from what I heard. But yeah, this is the horse graffiti. There was a sign that was like, oh, try to find this. And I spent way too much time looking for it. But I found it. It's kind of buried a little bit. Then we went to Burns Cottage. So Robert Burns was a poet. He wasn't like, or yeah, he was like really poor. He was like dirt poor, but he wrote a lot of poems about like nature and stuff. This was a cool statue on the way to go see the cottage. This is inside the cottage. Really small. There's only like 3 rooms, and that was the expanded version of the cottage. The actual cottage only had like 2 rooms. Yeah, so then we went to Edinburgh. So here's Edinburgh Castle, and here's the view from Edinburgh Castle, and here's a cannon that's on top of Edinburgh Castle. This was a this is a cemetery for military dogs that passed away. This is the place where they basically have a big memorial for soldiers who fell during World War II, I think. But they have like books and like these really big heavy set books. We weren't supposed to take pictures inside, so I didn't, but it was really cool to like look around. And this is Victoria Street in Edinburgh. It's what inspired Diagon Alley. Yeah, it was very colorful. This is Museum Context, the official Harry Potter store with the official Harry Potter wands and official Harry Potter books. It was like a store, so but I can say I went there. They had a cool basilisk. This is Heather Gems, and they're really pretty. And I learned how to make it, and I thought it was really cool. So Heather is like this plant, and you would get them and you would dye them and tie them together like this, and you would like compress them, kind of like that, and then you would glaze over them, and they were just so pretty and also really expensive. So this is Scott Monuments. So I climbed up to the very top. I think there's 221 stairs to the third level. We can go to the fourth level because it was just really like cramped and there's not a lot of room for like people to go up and down. So taking like tours isn't a good idea. It's really cool. So this has the same like weird black looking rocks that like the cathedral did. The reason for that is actually built out of like this sparkly pink sandstone, but the smog of the city like absorbed into the rock and made it look like this. And they're thinking about doing a restoration, but they'd have to like strip the whole first layer, which would leave like the underneath it more susceptible to corrosion, so it wouldn't last as long. So they kept it like this, which I'm okay with because it looks really cool. This is in Scott's monument. So Scott, Walter Scott, I think his name is. Yeah, he was like the father of historic fiction. Like he was the person who like really started that. So in Scott Monument, you can see like all the books that he wrote, some of the books that he wrote, not all of them. So this is inside the Bronte's family's home. So the Bronte sisters who wrote like Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre, I think. So there's three sisters, obviously, and a brother, and the three sisters wrote books and poems, and the brother actually painted a lot. Like they were a very creative family. They would like share all the stories to their dad. What's crazy though, what I didn't realize is that so there were six kids total. Two of them died before they were adults, like when they were like 8 and 11, the two eldest girls. But then the brother, he died probably of alcohol poisoning. But then all the three girls died before the age of like 40, and their dad outlived all six of his kids, which is just really sad, I think. We went to Warwick Castle. So Warwick Castle, it's this old castle, historic and stuff. People in charge there like Disneyfied it. It's like a little teeny tiny theme park. It's really fun. I explored the Grand Hall. This is a room in the hall. Apparently, this is where somebody got stabbed by their servant because they had disagreements about the will. Like, you really should have like won the argument before doing the stabbing. Is how it normally works. But okay. Guy of Warwick is this famous guy. They tell lots of stories about Guy. He has a tower in the castle. Yeah, so Warwick Castle had a lot of like wax figures in it, and they're kind of creepy, not gonna lie. This is Guy's castle, Guy's tower, I mean. That's a real life Triple A. I saw it shoot off. So I went to Stratford upon Avon. We went to Anne Hathaway's house, Shakespeare's wife. Yeah, this is her house, like where she grew up. Here's another bee. This is another big one. Also in Stratford upon Avon, we had time to just like look around. And I found a Christmas shop. It was just completely filled with Christmas stuff. This is where Shakespeare was born, Shakespeare's birthplace. So these stones that I took a picture of the floor because they're the very same floor that Shakespeare walked on. Yep, I walked on the same floor that Shakespeare did. Then in Stratford upon Avon, we actually went and saw Much Ado About Nothing. It wasn't my favorite Shakespeare play I have seen, but it was still cool. This was my seat. But I actually got to move over a seat so I could actually see the stage pretty well. Wait, we went to Oxford next. Here's the Great Hall. I went inside to see the Alice window, which I took a picture. You can't really see it very well. The light was shining through it, which made it so my. But if you look up here, you can see like these little outlines in the stained glass, and those are actually figures from Alice in Wonderland. So essentially, one of my friends had family who lived here for a bit, and they went to the Story Museum earlier, and they were like, you should definitely. They told my friend that you should definitely go to the Story Museum, like it's amazing.
And so she was like, let's do it. And I was like, that sounds so cool. And so we went to Story Dimension. This is outside it. It was honestly so cool. So when we first step in there, there was like the signs of like English folklore and starts with like a once upon a time. But there's other ways that different cultures would start theirs and they had them listed on the wall. And this one was probably my favorite. So it was kind of separated into 3 different sections. The first section was the Whispering Woods. They're really cool. So you could see like these little cup things and you'd pull them out and you could hear a story explained through there. This was the dragon room. And so basically How to Train Your Dragon, the person wrote the book, so it's in like that style and that lore, different than movie. But she helped us make this, like design it and stuff about dragons. And we had to cut our time short because we had to be somewhere and we spent too much time in the Whispering Woods. I would love to go back here. That was like the second part of it. The third part of it was like it had a whole bunch of stories and there's like these little rooms that transported you into a story. So this is the Pooh's room. Everything was like detailed. It looked like hand drawn kind of deal, like the river. The river was actually flowing. It was like an animation that's moving, and you could see sometimes like 2 sticks would like plop down into the river, and you could play Pooh sticks, and it was so cool. There was an Alice one as well, Alice in Wonderland, and then there's Narnia. You can just go through the coast. Like I cannot express like the joy I felt walking through those doors when I went to Narnia. Like it was crazy. This place is crazy, guys. This is actually Jisu's writing desk, not the real one. I don't think. Maybe it's a real one. But you could actually like write your own stories here, and they'd put them into this binder up here. If you wrote a story, like they just kept them, and that's just so cool.
We went to London. This is Big Ben. And we stayed in London for a couple of days. Here is the London Eye. This is on the London Eye. It used to be the tallest Ferris wheel in the world, and it no longer is, but now it's the 4th tallest Ferris wheel in the world. And so we went to the British Museum. This is the Rosetta Stone, like the real one, not like the fake one that's at my school. Giant beetle, and I loved it. It's also a giant snake. So we went to the Kew Gardens, which is just a bunch of gardens, very spacious plants, stuff. I found this sign and I was very confused, but it says here at Kew's Gothic Cathedral, like as if there should be one here, but there isn't. There's no cathedral here. Here's my authentic experience in the tube. So we went to the Shakespeare Globe. So this is actually not the original one. The original one was torn down in 1644. They tried to make it as close to the original as possible. This was my seating. I did get to move though, so I got to see a little bit more of the stage. But we watched Romeo and Juliet, but it was a Western, and it was good. It was strangely comedic. This is, yeah, St. Paul's Cathedral. We went in there for Evensong. I was really tired and I fell asleep during it. Went to Lake Streak for a bit. So Lake Streak is a place where it's illegal graffiti there. Because one of my friends wanted a spray paint, so he did. But I just did Frank because in school when there's a whiteboard and a marker, I'll draw Frank. It's just what I do. And then we went to Paris. Got to see the Eiffel Tower. I didn't climb up it because half of me didn't want to, and the other half was tired. So here's River Seine. Then we went to the Louvre. Here's some pictures that I liked. I didn't go to see the Mona Lisa because like as we got close to it, I was like, but what is so great about the Mona Lisa actually? This is Versailles Palace. This is the palace that people were living in when the French Revolution happened. We got off the bus and my teacher like pointed over to it and was like, that's the reason French Revolution happened. So yeah, that was my British literary trip. Sorry, seeing all these cool things, experience all these things and getting with people. It was really fun, and I'm so glad I was able to go. So this is my first time out of the United States, which is why I made it of my 100 things of what I'm doing. But I gotta go out of the USA and visit at least 2 countries, so gonna mark that off. All right, see you guys later.